From the Pubco Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Barry Tramel. Press Row is brought to you by Cox High-Speed Internet. Barry, it's time for the We Pick'em segment this week. We've got 5 games to pick, and we're going to start with USC at Notre Dame. Who you got?
Well, if you can believe it or not, friends, this actually used to be a big game. USC Notre Dame, not so much now. The Trojans struggling under Lane Kiffin. They got the probation problems. Notre Dame still trying to find its feet under Brian Kelly. I think Notre Dame wins. It's not an endorsement of Notre Dame. It's an indictment of USC.
Well, I feel the same way. When I picked Notre Dame to win this game, just as Barry did, it was more of a question of, well, I don't really feel like USC is going to be able to go on the road and win at Notre Dame. That's the biggest thing. I just don't see USC anywhere close to the level where they used to be when they just intimidated people, came in and won games. I see Notre Dame winning this one. All right, let's stay out east and look at Cincinnati at South Florida. Barry, who you got?
Well, people say, why are you picking this game? Well, this is an interesting game on two fronts. One, Cincinnati actually can make a run at the BCS, and they end up in the Fiesta Bowl. They could be playing the Sooners or the Cowboys. So keep your eye on Cincinnati. Plus, if Missouri goes to the SEC, as Cincinnati's talked about as a possible replacement. So not a bad game to keep your eye on. Skip Holt's doing a heck of a job at South Florida, but Cincinnati's been to the BCS 2 of the last 3 years. Cincinnati needs to win to challenge West Virginia for the Big East title. I think South Florida wins a close one.
I do too. And what you said about Skip Holtz is exactly right. You know, obviously the proud family lineage, his dad, Lou, but I think Skip Holtz is doing a heck of a job at South Florida. They're winning games. That's a conference right for the picking, Barry, and I think they're sort of emerging as a team. Obviously, they're in fertile recruiting ground, and now we're starting to see some of that pay off. All right, let's go to what's maybe the game of the week. Wisconsin goes to Michigan State. Barry, who you got?
Well, I'm taking Wisconsin, but I love Michigan State for this reason. Remember back in the olden days, like the 90s, people played defense. If you like defense, watch Michigan State. The Spartans play defense. They're going to slow Wisconsin down. I just don't think Michigan State can score enough to beat the Badgers. But I think it's going to be a great game in East Lansing. Game day's there. Michigan State could win. I don't think they will. You know,
this is how good Michigan State's defense is. Denard Robinson, the Michigan quarterback, goes from a Heisman contender a week ago to people wondering if he should be starting for Michigan. And so that's what Michigan State did to him a week ago. I think Wisconsin also wins this game, but this is really going to be a test for the Badgers, and they haven't had a lot of them. The Big Ten, not a great football conference right now. It looks like they're rolling towards an undefeated season, but if they can go to East Lansing and win, I think they definitely strengthen that case for a national championship game. All right, let's look at the in-state teams. The one here on Oklahoma soil this week is Texas Tech at Oklahoma. Barry, any question who you got in this one?
No, it's in Norman, so there's not even a debate. The Sooners will win. Now the question is, will they roll? Will they win big or will they not? You know, they bat about 500 against Texas Tech in the Bob Stoops area. Half the time they win by a rout. Half the time it's reasonably close. The last time Tech was here last year, Tommy Tuberville's first game in Norman, 45-7. Sooners rout. 3 years ago, the jump around game, 65-21. Sooners have been taking Tech to the woodshed in Norman recently. They didn't always do that in the 2000s. I think they do this time. I think the Sooners get after the Techs pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. I agree. I think this is an Oklahoma victory, pretty easy Oklahoma victory. After a week when they weren't happy about their performance at Kansas, obviously the defense played a whole lot better in the second half. The offense had some red zone struggles throughout that game. That continues to be a concern amongst players, coaches, fans. I think this is a game where Oklahoma is going to be really focused to try to clean up some of those areas. I don't know if they get it accomplished, Barry, but when they're motivated against an inferior opponent in a place that they've dominated, I think they win easy on Saturday. All right, a fun game early Saturday morning, an 11 o'clock kick. Oklahoma State goes to Missouri. Barry, who you got?
Well, this is a tough one. It's coming off. It's a bad scheduling slot for OSU. Coming off the big win at Texas. Always emotional when you go to Austin and win. Now they have to go on the road again. The Cowboys do against a Missouri team that will be tough to beat. The Tigers have a much better offense than Texas. Not as good a defense, but a much better offense. They can score. They scored 28 on the Sooners, so we've seen Missouri do that. Now, the Tigers aren't indestructible. I mean, Kansas State held them to 3 points through 3 quarters. So I think OSU wins, but I think it's going to be tough. I think the Cowboys will have to play well. I think Brandon Weeden will have to deliver. I think the Cowboys win a close one in Columbia.
Yeah, and I've seen this Missouri team in person. I saw them in Norman. They're a good team. I like Oklahoma State to win as well. But I'll tell you what, the skill guys from Missouri are going to give defenses, not just Oklahoma State's, but any defense fits. I mean, these are some young guys, primarily quarterback and running back. Henry Josie, the running back. James Franklin, the quarterback. They just continue to get better and better each week. Josie leads the Big 12 in rushing right now as a sophomore. So very talented guys in that backfield for Missouri. I do think Oklahoma State wins because their offense is just that much better. And their defense, for all of the people who say their defense isn't great and statistically does not rank well, they get turnovers, Barry. They're second in the country in turnover margin. I think that comes into play. I think they win that turnover battle again and ultimately win on Saturday. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.